Alright, so there are a lot of issues with Edge of Fate and Destiny 2 as a whole right now, but I just wanted to focus today's video on specifically weapons and the whole featured weapon system, as well as how Infusion works. So let me start this off by saying I was actually really excited for this quote-unquote soft reset that was bringing our power down to a low level and forcing us to grind up. It sounds like a good idea in an MMO RPG, and honestly, I'm a D3 believer, so of course I can't argue with a soft reset. But the execution of this particular reset or rescaling of power, it just doesn't feel right. And first and foremost, I want to talk about loadouts, right? And this will lead into Infusion. But we have the new modifier that is in the Conquest, as well as something you can choose to put on in any activity. It's called Avant-Garde, and basically it's just any new gear you have to use that only. You cannot use any other item. Now, I think for Conquest in certain activities, this is fine. You know, not necessarily forcing people, because you don't have to play those activities if you don't want to, but you know, you want people to use new stuff. And here's the first issue I have with that. There are so few new weapons in Edge of Fate that in order to replace every single loadout that you have, it's just not going to happen. Now, even with a larger expansion, I wouldn't expect that. But the issue with having Avant-Garde is it's very restrictive in terms of your loadouts, because usually in those activities you're going to do with Avant-Garde, you have to deal with champions. So not only are you limited to the new weapons or the featured weapons pool, but you're also limited to the new legendaries, which means there's only a certain amount of combinations you can have in order to ensure you have all the champ mods you need. Maybe match game is on, so you need a certain element, and it just doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel like I can use my new and old arsenal together, which is, you know, what's the point of having all those old weapons if you can't use them, right? I'm not saying they should be the best. Obviously, the tiered system and the mods do make the newer weapons better, but the whole point of a soft reset is not to force you into only using new stuff, but mixing and matching, which, you know, without Avant-Garde on, that's usually what I end up doing. Of course, it's always nice to go back and use old weapons that you either have a high kill count on, ones that are your favorites, or just ones that are really good. Tinashe's is a great example. It's still not as great as maybe Mint Retrograde is now. It's a little bit worse because it can't stun unstops anymore, but it's still a really solid weapon that's going to chunk down most enemies really fast, and that's really good. Also, any rocket assisted frame weapon, I know we just have the pulse and all those sidearms for now, but they just one tap imps, and it's so nice in end game content, whether it's mythic missions. I don't think it'll one tap in mythic, but it does one tap in most instances in the raid, which is really nice. And I'm not sure if Chill Clip overlaps with Unstop, because Unstoppable sidearm is a thing this season, so I'm not sure if you can do both with Tinashe still, but if you can, I mean, that makes it even better. But again, you are limited in what you can use that in, and even if you want to use old weapons and stuff that, again, doesn't have Avant-Garde, there are a couple penalties that will happen if you want to use new gear. Now, I'm not sure if this is a thing, but I'm like 90% sure. So don't quote me on this, and if I'm wrong, please tell me. But I'm pretty sure that you get a higher chance to get higher tiered stuff, or at least higher power stuff, if you have new gear on only, or featured gear on only. So that's one incentive outside of, you know, you get the bonus damage from the artifact, right? It's another incentive to use new gear, which honestly, right, it's optional and it increases your loot, so that's okay. You might just have to grind a little bit more if you decide to throw on Multi-Mock or let's say Noxious Vetiver instead of your Tide Apex, or whatever suits your fancy. Okay, So I'm going to use my Gifted Conviction build as an example here, just because this is frustrating. I mean, Gifted Conviction is easily one of my favorite exotics in the game. I love Ascension. I love anything Ascension related. If you ever watch me stream or any of my gameplay, usually I'm running Ascension, with the exception of running Packers, but that's not why we're here. We're here because Ascension does something where if you jolt and damage a target, where jolting nearby targets grants you damage resist. So this works even outside of Ascension. So say I wanted to use Noxious Vetiver because it has jolting feedback. Well, my Noxious Vetiver is 283, and I want to go and infuse it up. I want it to be around 370, and I'm not actually going to use this fusion to infuse because it's a really nice fusion. But if I wanted to, it's 4,500 unstable cores to infuse this up. Now, Noxious Vetiver right now, at least mine, is at 283. That's pretty high. It's it's not going to take my power down too much, right? If I put the fusion back on, it's 363 instead of 352. But another example here would be if I were to transfer something in that is lower. Lodestar is another weapon that I would occasionally use with this build, but I have not used it since the Edge of Fate Since the Edge of Fate has come out, because I want to use new weapons. I use this quite a bit in Heresy, and it's okay. It's not the best weapon out there, but it is just 10 power. If I wanted to infuse this up to my current level, it would be about 1,000 more unstable cores to get this thing up. And you might say, I am probably going to reach a point eventually where I'm not infusing gear anymore, but I'm still a long way away from that. I think the max power I'm at is 376, so I haven't even hit the 400 power grind yet. That is not very fun and very slow as far as progress goes. So let's say I just wanted to upgrade 100 items in my vault that were all level 10, and I wanted to get them up to 400. Now, assuming 400 adds a little bit more, we'll go to like 5,700 unstable cores, right? That means we're talking 570,000 unstable cores to enhance just 100 weapons. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure most people's vaults range anywhere from 400 to 600 items, and even with a new expansion out, it's probably going to be closer to 650, maybe even full. So to infuse your entire vault up, not only would you need around 700 enhancement cores, you would also need millions of unstable cores, which is it's insane to think about. The reason I think a hard reset would have been better, saying any weapons from, let's say, the first episode and beyond, can't bring them up. This would make it so you don't have to really care about infusing this old gear up. And, maybe you just care about infusing featured stuff up or stuff that's really good right now, and that's fine too. But it's just super annoying to have all these weapons here. You can use them, but to get them up to proper level, it is a pain in the ass to do that, and it's just not worth your time. You have to go into a farm mode, essentially, farm all of these weapons and armor pieces, dismantle them to get the cores, then infuse a weapon up, and then you're back to zero. You have to keep farming to infuse. And this is where we start to get to solutions. Your power level should be based on what your max is, regardless of what you have equipped. Similar to how fire team power works, it pulls everyone up to, whatever the highest person in that fire team is, so that you can do harder difficulty content without worrying too much. And in this sense, say the max power you can get to is 400, and you equip gear, it pulls you down to 350, but because the game knows your max power is 400, you're getting drops at 400, you're going to be 400 or maybe 390. Maybe there's a slight penalty for having lower gear on, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal because of the way this system works. Or you could just make it so it only costs enhancement cores to infuse anything up. This would streamline the process and make it so much easier, because again, it is so frustrating to have all these weapons at your fingertips. And sure, you can use them in a fire team because your power is going to be up anyway, but if you want to go do something solo, it's a pain because you don't have the proper power, even though, let's say you're at Grandmaster, but your loadout takes you down to 330, and Grandmaster you want to be around 360, 370. It's just not great. So if we had a proper amount of weapons to replace everything we had from the old stuff, so you can use that in the interim until you have enough unstable cores where it's no problem infusing anything up, that would have been fine. But this was a soft reset with such a small amount of weapons to take place of your old arsenal and loadouts that it's not enough diversity in your loadouts, and you're like, oh, this weapon that I have in my vault would work perfectly. You go to infuse it, realize you don't have enough, and you're just like, man, this sucks. I can't keep infusing my armor and my weapons all at the same time, at least not consistently, because, you know, you want to use some of the gear that you get too. So sometimes you'll get a tier 4 and it's good and you want to keep it. You don't want to get rid of it, but getting rid of it will give you the unstable cores you need to infuse whatever you want to use up. So this system, very flawed, very rushed. You can tell with a lot of these things, and hopefully they either make unstable cores more plentiful, again, make the cost just one enhancement core, or maybe sunset stuff for real. But I know the backlash from that would be a lot and people wouldn't enjoy it, so I doubt that will be what they do. But that's just my thoughts on the whole thing. It could be better. I want it to be better. We'll see if they actually do anything about it. Anyways, that's it. See ya.